Quick apology before the video starts. My mic settings were on like echo mode for some reason, so you're gonna hear a lot of echo. Scorpio Spear finally came in the mail today, and I say finally, I got it insanely early compared to a lot of other UK bladers. And within the limited few hours that I've done testing on a bunch of different combos against a bunch of different random other combos, I can confidently say Scorpio is 100% gonna be meta, and it will be in top decks. It's gonna insanely quickly climb through the WBO meta parts list, especially for the Blade and Zap. 070 probably will as well, but we'll talk a bit more about the parts later. Now, I haven't got. There's not going to be like testing footage with like scoreboards and points and all that set up with like all the specific combos. But what I will do is just put background footage of the test footage anyway. So as I'm talking, you can sort of get a feel for the blade itself. And I'm just going to be going over some points that really stick out, and as well as some of the best combos that I found so far. Okay, so the first thing I noticed that happened immediately was my Scorpio was like already twisted when I put it together, and it was in attack mode. And you can't launch from attack mode, it turns out. So if you try, it sort of just falls off the prong. So you have to twist it into its like stamina defense mode to actually fit it on the launcher. So you have to launch from your stam defense mode. So if you are going attack, you will have to risk using the extreme line if that's the kind of build you're more leaning towards. So there's a bit of risk involved, but something's got to balance this thing. So fair is fair. The blade is around like 39 and a half. It can be a bit lower. It can be a lot higher as well. Some people have really pushed their luck and got 40 grams. Speaking of the weight though, surprisingly, it's not actually that top heavy and can pull itself up fairly quickly. And that's quite surprising because if you've seen any of the leaked footage, there was one photo of a side by side. The actual blade height is a fair bit taller than average compared to most. So you're already sort of hitting from a bit higher anyway. So you would imagine once it starts to tilt, it wants to fall over. And again, quite surprisingly, it doesn't. It pulls itself up quite quick. It's, in a sense, kind of like a more stable late game wolf. Speaking of wolf, if you have it on 963 ball, you can actually outspin Wizard Rod 960 ball, which was quite surprising. Now, obviously, this is going to come down to a few factors, like if you can match launch power, because with a lot of combos anyway, if you can just outpower your opponent, you do have a fair good chance of outspinning Rod anyway. But like Wolf, if a few things go right, it sort of acts as like a destabilizer. So you can get some pretty consistent wins of Rod. It also easily, and I mean easily, outspins against current meta attack types. I mean, when you consider Phoenix Wing had the mold update and it's now like 39 grams sort of on average, Scorpio outspin it easily. And that's not on like low res like stam defense bits. Like we're talking like flat, zap, point, rush, low rush, tapers, high tapers. As long as like as long as you don't get KO'd, you basically outspin most times. Like a lot has to go wrong for Scorpion to lose. It's kind of busted. And what makes it even more busted is even if you do use low res bits, the blade has burst stoppers on it. So not only are you a tank that, for example, can run 960 elevate and it already being heavy enough for it to hold it down and not rip itself apart on the rail, it has additional help of not bursting anyway. So that's kind of crazy. Okay, so quickly, just to go over the other two parts that came with the set, because even though I think most people are after the blade, it is obviously included, and I do think it's worth talking about. Now, 070, I think this is actually the perfect height for the Zero Ratchet, because 080, if you notice, the middle circle part of the ratchet actually, on 80 height at least, sort of fills in the gaps between the nubs. So it actually makes it sort of harder to burst. So there's that balance between height and burst risk. 070, however, although it's lower, so the nubs are slightly more exposed, just being that bit lower so you're not just a tall behemoth in the middle of the stadium is so good for stability. So anyone who likes Silver Wolf on 080 Hexa or 080 Freeball bull, UN, any of those kind of bits, definitely try 070 because it's a huge step up. And then just zap quickly. So from what I've seen, it's very similar movement to point, but wider. So there's still that issue of the sort of tornado stalling in the middle if you don't make contact, or stalling too long on the upper pit and upper part of the stadium and falling in and missing and then ending up back there. So you do need to sort of bank your launches until, in certain ways, if you use point, you'll probably be a natural at zap anyway, so not too much there. But it also acts as a more controlled level. Now it's got the same gearing, so you still get that boost in attack from extreme dashes. It's just but you definitely don't self KO as much. It's a lot more stable. You don't it still happens, but you don't go off to the right side pocket as much, and it wants to keep on the actual extreme line and go for extreme dashes. So if level is more your speed, but you want it a bit toned down, I think Zap It again, definitely worth the testing. I did try also, just before I forget, I did try Wizard Rod on Zap versus Dragoon Elevate. It does work. It's not, I wouldn't say it's as consistent as level or obviously Elevate, but as a extra part that's a bit different to Rod and still sort of works. Again, worth the testing. I tried it on Arrow as well, just to see if it could do the same thing like it does on level, but I think level is just a bit more stable overall, so it doesn't work near as consistent. If you've been thinking about buying Beyblades, you should definitely check out Mall of Toys. They have a huge selection of Beyblade X, including CX pre-orders, and better yet, they will price match, so you won't find it anywhere cheaper. USA customers also qualify for free shipping at the moment, with international orders available. They've been a great source of Beyblades for the community, so if you need a trusted seller, I highly recommend you check them out. To get 5% off your order and help the channel going forward, check out the link in the description. And of course, I know everyone's going to be asking for combos, since people are going to want it like OP out of the box. So from the limited testing I did today, some of the best combos that I've found in no specific order is 560 Hexa. It's just a tank, really. I mean, it's already super heavy, so you don't want to add too much weight. I think 7 is a bit too heavy, especially once it loses speed. It wants to go a bit crazy. It's not as stable or want to sit in the center. But 560 Hexa, perfect for defense. 960 free ball. This was the combo that I mentioned earlier that can beat Wizard Rod 960 ball if you can match launch strength. So even if you're a bit more passive, or you want maybe a rod replacement that can still do good against rods if you match up, definitely worth a try. 960 Elevate. Oh my god. Okay. It's quite funny because Rod and Dragoon are both like top meta that everyone's basically terrified of, especially if you don't own the parts and can test and work out counters for yourself. But as most people know by now, if you stick Elevate on basically any blade that has like 34 grams weight and above, can basically outspin Dragoon, or at least 50-50 it, so you're not just guaranteed to lose the spin every time. Now, because of Scorpio's weight, as well as the burst stoppers, it just doesn't pop. And even when it tries to ride the rail, it just makes this like scraping sound because it's too heavy to get up. Like, obviously you can still get pushed onto it like any other blade, but from just how it runs, it's definitely the best Elevate build I've tested so far. So if you want to get rid of Dragoon and have something that can counter it as well as basically everything else, 960 Elevate. Really got to try that one. For the balance type users, 360 Taper. Again, super heavyweight. You don't need a 5 for extra weight, and it's already pretty good at picking itself up. So you could argue you don't need the 5 for the weight distribution. So 3's great. It's a 3-sided blade, so you still get that little outward distribution, but also you let the blade do more of the weight carrying. So you can build up a bit more speed. You can, obviously get slightly higher attack power, but also Taper is, in my opinion, the best high res bit. It will still outspin all attack types. It will still have a decent chance of like just randomly booming out Rod or Wolf or Dragoon. But yeah, it's the most consistent, definitely, and it eliminates the point problem of like the tornado stalling a lot of the time. It's just great. So 360 Taper, highly recommended. If anything, #1 recommendation. Again, like mentioned earlier, the blade is slightly taller than others, so You don't really, in my opinion at least, want to be on 70 height and above. I think 60 is sort of like the new 70 for Scorpio, like maybe like a 65 height sort of thing. So stuff like low rush, low flat, preferably low rush. I think low flat's a bit too crazy for my liking, but low rush, very controlled, just like taper. Um, Obviously less gearing, so you save more speed. Again, similar to taper, it's just really consistent. It's just really good. Definitely worth a try for an attack type build. You can also go rush. There's nothing bad about it. I just think with the blade being taller, you want to have it a bit lower anyway. So to each their own, but low rush is the recommendation. And just lastly, before I forget entirely, because I was about to skip this and I only just realized I should because I looked over and saw it across the room. But the winder, we also get the long winder from the Samurai Saber set in yellow this time. So accessible long winders, awesome, no complaints there. And also the launcher is so smooth. This is hands down the smoothest ripcord launcher I've pulled, and I never like. I went off ripcord ages ago, but even just pulling this, it's so smooth. So anyone who uses winder, this is a serious improvement. Like even if you think you have a good launcher, definitely give this a few rips. Just see how it feels because mine at least is butter smooth. Again, I'm pretty confident this will end up in top decks meta use. It's gonna zap and to be honest, I think all parts, the 070 Zap and Scorpio, I think they're all gonna start taking over the top 8 WBO meta lists and the tier list. So don't be surprised when they start popping up all over YouTube. So that's all I have to say on Scorpio. I think I've basically covered all the main things that I've noticed at least. Now, obviously, I'm going to miss some things, so anyone who does have any extra info to share, please leave it in the comments, always helpful, and take care, Bladers. Want to grow the old collection you found rotting away in the basement, or even from scratch, Base Station has you covered. Although Burst is over, they still stock a few select models, along with Beyblade X, and a ton of Metal Series Beyblades, from Metal Fusion all the way up until Fury. So if you're looking for a trusted and reliable source for Beyblades, check out baystation.com and use code SOLICAL for a discount at checkout.